What a beautiful wild camp this was. It rained, of course, but the sun came out too. Welcome to another beach camp in Kerry. This camp carries on from our earlier beach camp on Strand and all the tips that went with it. In this episode, we are going to look at some of the obstacles we found when carrying out this camp, the ways around those obstacles that we found, how we did this wild camp legally, and how you can do so too. We will slow down for a little to give the feel of what this type of camping is all about, explore an old shipwreck, and we will also have a look at how to make this type of camping a sustainable part of our future. If we don't manage ourselves in this, we will be all managed out of existence by those who do not see the merits of this kind of staycation or holiday. Kerry comes alive in the summer. Bogs, fields, mountains, villages, pitches and communities are buzzing with life. But we made an early start and would sneak off now to a quiet corner for a night under canvas. I tried several access routes to Bale and Letter Beach. All were loaded with signposted lists of what you cannot do. In the process of finding my way in this kind of camping, I have found no shortage of information on what we cannot do. This video seeks to expand on what we can do. No camping, no overnight parking, it says, by authority of Kerry County Council. So the sign proclaims. So how did I do this legally? It's true that I found an access to the beach where no signs appear. So did I claim ignorance? Just carry on with that as my excuse? No, I found a better way than that. After we've gone through a little more, I will tell you exactly how I did this legally. In the meantime, I've already shown you the clue. See if you can figure it out. This is Bale Strand. It sits on the mouth of the River Shannon. As such, it is adjacent to a major port. Shipping is part of its charm, but the current of the mouth of Ireland's largest river means that it is not safe for swimming. As such, it is not so much a beach holiday as much as it is a place to just come and be present in this wild and sometimes quiet little corner. This stream was fresh water and I found a spot that was relatively solid. Much of it is quite soft and below the high water mark also, so the decision to cross it should take at least a second thought. There's no real need to camp this far along. I walked this whole beach before I drove it. Bale Strand lies along the direction of the prevailing wind, and I found that this means the sand tends to drift in places, leaving areas that are quite soft, maybe too soft for driving. You can of course drive along below the high water mark, where the wet sand tends to support weight better, but then the stakes are higher when the tide returns. This section along here was quite soft and needed a little extra speed. Nobody else was here though, so we proceeded further on to what proved to be a perfect little spot, above the tide, beyond the sandflies, and nicely out of the way.
I'm going to turn around here.
Hey, hold on! Whoa! Ah, goodbye, Rocky. Whoa, there's no flowers.
Yeah, how about that?
Okay. We just want our cute.
Since before these two could walk, I have always brought them to the beaches at all times of year, and always found this environment to be the single greatest competitor to the dreaded screen in terms of its ability to capture their minds and steal them away by themselves for hour after hour. Here, for some reason, they are siblings in the way I most want them to be. The different interests of gender or age appear to be of no significance out here. All too often I've lost a race with time on these trips. All too often, I've arrived at camp too late. Not this time though. There was no rush. I generally allow myself just one coffee a day, with the deal being that I make it a good one. Not grabbed while rushing out the door, but when I have time to enjoy it. This coffee was a particularly good one. I took the time to enjoy it. You know the smell of the dunes, you know the salt in the air, the wind in the long grass, and the waves along the Strand competing with the fading voices of these two running off like they only do on the beach. I began my coffee while they began a standoff with the tide that would last the rest of the day. I remember when I was their age and I professed to the owner of the Anchor bar in Bantry that I wanted to go to sea, and he said this: "Burn this into your soul, boy. No man is greater than the sea, but the sea is greater than all men." They learned a little of this today in their ever-retreating battle with the rising tide.
I love life. I don't know why I said that one.
I do too. I do too.
I love this apple juice. Is anyone left the beach?
I don't think we're the only ones still here, Tommy.
Actually, no, I think in car down.
Take a light the fire, Tom. Well done, Tom. First time. Excellent.
Unapologetically, I will slow this story down a little around here. That is the purpose of our trip, after all. Losing dig after dig to the tide, even recruiting the help of the dog. The progress of a lazy day for me could be marked by their busy flight across the sand, crater by crater, until at last the truce was found above the high water mark as the light began to fade.
This used to be a hole!
Good now.
3, 2, 1.
All were tired, hungry, and happy, except perhaps Lizzie, who noted a distinct lack of crumbs among the sand.
Right. And it's not, it will never be enough. I might.
As much as this is a beach, it is also an anchorage. The old familiar sounds while watching the ships roll in, the rumble of anchor chain, the soundtrack of their generators occasionally drifting on the wind as they swung with the tide, and their lights across the river at night. The 10 years I spent as a mariner seemed much closer down here. A story or two more alive in my mind than ever. You told us that one before, Dad. I know I did. In the morning the tide was low, so we had planned to walk the wreck of the Thetis that lies in the sands not too far away. The weather helped in some part to set the tone for her story. She was driven ashore in a storm in 1834. She was a two-masted vessel with a cargo of pine timber from Quebec. After a stormy crossing, she sought shelter in the Anchorage here. In the moonlight, they could clearly see the thatched houses of Doon and Bale, but just as the Thetis was in range of shelter, she was battered by large waves and driven ashore here. 9 were lost overboard, but the rest of the crew were to survive. In a bitter twist, the salvage operation revealed contraband tobacco among the cargo, and many of the survivors were then marched on to court in Tralee for smuggling. Not far short of 200 years later, it's incredible how much of her dowel structure has survived this exposed Atlantic location. There is little time to ponder though. No sooner than the tide reveals her ribs, it begins to turn, and so must we. I have no authority to write a code of conduct for this kind of camping, but in contact with the wider overland and wild camping community, these points I think reflect the actions of those who do so responsibly. Bring the next generation with you. The point of using what is left of our right to roam on this island is to engender a love of its wild places in ourselves, of course, but especially in the next generation. Generations who learn to love these places will mind them and therefore save them. Remember, this code is not here to prove what we are able to do. It's here to prove what we can continue to do. It's about wild camping in a way that demonstrates our value as part of Ireland's future. Drive responsibly. If conditions determine that you will have to drive at speed to avoid getting stuck, fellow beach users may need to be warned. If you want donuts, go to a coffee shop or be alone. If in doubt, walk it before you drive it. Annoying local farmers by looking for a tractor tow will not increase our popularity as a group, without a cash supplement, of course. Study the tides for the same reason. Consider quieter times of year and season. Overland rigs do not need perfect weather. They are not necessarily compatible with the crowd, and in fact, they excel where the crowd peters out. Bring your own toilet. Dunes drift, kids dig on sandy beaches. There is nowhere for human waste on a beach. If you rather a shovel for a toilet, follow a bear into the woods instead. If lighting a fire is sensible, then use a fire pit. Nobody needs or wants sooty holes left in the dunes or beach head. Don't put the dunes on fire either. That would not exactly qualify as leaving no trace. If you want a disco, go to one. The beach has its own pristine soundtrack. Enjoy it. Leave no trace except your tracks, and of those leave as little as possible. Dunes are an ecosystem, not a diff-lock soot pipe challenge. Bring away what rubbish you find, as well as your own. Make that our calling card. Read up on County Council bylaws. Know your rights. Be where you have the right to be, and defend that right by demonstrating the responsible and considerate presence of this overland wild camping community.
This is not the end. I will go with you. Every turn and bend, I will take with you.
So that's right, it's not the end. That's because I haven't told you how I did this legally. So here goes. I wrote to Kerry County Council and I asked why there are Kerry County Council signs on the Strand here stating that there is no camping when it is not listed on the Kerry County Council beach bylaws as being a banned beach. I asked them if it was possible these signs referred to earlier regulations. They confirmed that this is the case. The signs erected refer to 2013 regulations and are scheduled for removal. The 2022 beach laws now stand. So happy camping, folks. Thank you for watching, and don't forget, these are the good old days.